Hey everybody, Midnight Riders back here again. Man, we're doing pretty good. We are cooking with Crisco. I think this is episode number 17 or something like that, 17 or 18. Um, Today's subject is going to kind of continue going on about just how emasculated our whole damn society has become. Uh, I'll tell you, I was browsing through Facebook, which I do every so often. Believe it or not, I try to stay off Facebook as much as possible because it's just kind of a slew of shit in my mind, and I don't think people are doing themselves any favors by being on social media all the time. And believe it or not, I actually think this is one of the things that's contributing to men becoming less and less masculine. But I was watching a couple of things here that I found on Facebook. One of these groups is called Man on Fire, and another one of these. I mean, I ran across about 20 of them, but another one of these is called Rise Up Kings. So I'm sitting here watching these guys' promotion video, and I guess basically, you know, that they're taking these emasculated men and they're doing like this 3-day, you know, like little Navy SEAL buds course, right, where they're making them, you know, swim in the ocean for a couple of hours and shit. And it's, I guess this is supposed to turn these guys, you know, into real men, and it's supposed to make them better fathers and better businessmen and better husbands, and it's supposed to fix their marriages. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, it's like, man, I know an awful lot of Navy SEALs who are terrible husbands, they're terrible fathers, and they're absolutely non-existent businessmen because they're too fucking afraid to actually get off the government's dime and start doing something for themselves. But it's very interesting how, and look, man, I'm not knocking anybody's, you know, business practices. I'm not knocking anybody's entrepreneurial spirit, trying to get out there and create their own business brands and stuff like that. It's just very funny what people think is the right thing to do. To become a masculine man and to, you know, become a better husband and a better father and all these kinds of things. So, you know, really, I haven't really done a whole lot of this. I think there might be 1 or 2 episodes that I've mentioned my book. You know, my book is not really a book as much as it is kind of like a short novel or a short book, a short memoir almost. You know, it's just a real simple thing that I wrote down, I don't know, a couple years ago. And I've got it for sale on Amazon. It's called The 5 F's of a Real Man, How to Undo the Emasculation of the Modern Man. And, you know, I mean, I don't think I've even hardly sold anything. But in this book, I talk about the 5 F's of being a real man. And I mean this sincerely. All of you people out there that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on these courses and doing this and doing that, there's really only 5 F's to being a real man. To grabbing your balls and doing what men are supposed to do in order to be real men. And I think if people kind of started taking some of this advice and stop worrying so much about what the rest of society thinks, I think we sure would be a whole lot better off. So the 5 F's of being a real man, in my personal opinion, the first one is fighting. I mean, you've got to be willing to fight. You've got to be willing to fight for what you believe in. You've got to be willing to fight for the people you love. You've got to be willing to stand up and fight against people who are trying to do you harm. This means people who are trying to take away your freedom too. Okay, real men do things like serve in the military, and they don't back down from a fight. Now, this doesn't mean that you got to be out there, you know, getting into bar brawls and that kind of dumb shit. That's not the kind of fighting I'm talking about. Although that is a form of it, where again, real men do not back down from a fight. You know, it's always funny because every time I talk to people about this, they always say, "Oh, well, you know, a badass man is going to be the silent type. You know, he's not going to be out there expressing his badassery." And that's absolute horse shit. Okay, every animal in the animal kingdom, every species out there has some form of chest thumping, right? Whether you're the big gorilla literally thumping your chest, or whether you're the male peacock, you know, the one with the biggest feathers is the one that is the most badass peacock, right? And everybody out there has some form of chest pumping, chest thumping, whatever you want to call it. And real men are going to stand up. They're not going to just sit in the corner and be silent all fucking night. If somebody's messing with them, or if somebody is messing with somebody else, you get up and you fucking fight. You know, we talked a little bit on the last previous episodes about things happening in this country. Like a couple weeks ago, there was a lady on a subway up in Philadelphia, I believe, who was literally being raped. And everybody just sat there and did nothing. Nobody was even brave enough to call the fucking police. And I cannot believe that we live in a society where there was other men on that subway just sitting by and letting that happen. Okay? They say the silent ones are the badasses. That's absolute horseshit. If you're that much of a pussy that you literally sit there on a train or a bus or anywhere and physically watch somebody being raped without trying to interject and without trying to defend that person, then you are the exact definition of a pussy. You are not a real man. And I can tell you that whoever those men were on those trains, y'all should be charged with fucking aiding and abetting, okay? Because you are the worst kind of pussies. So when we talk about fighting, this is really what we mean. We really mean about standing up, protecting other people who can't defend themselves, right? Defending your own, protecting your own, but mostly defending those who can't protect themselves. Okay, you don't need to be a cop, you don't need to be a soldier, you don't need to be anything special in order to stand up and defend other people who cannot protect themselves. Most people have never really understood this, you know, especially like the whiny Vietnam era, you know, all the Vietnam protesters and shit. That why did we go to Vietnam and why did we go to Iraq? They don't understand that the number one principle that America stands for is that we defend those who cannot defend themselves. And to see how complacent our society has become is absolutely heartbreaking. So anyway, the first step of being a real man is to fight. That's what you have to be willing to do. I've already talked once about the difference between a peaceful man and a harmless man. I've already talked once about that in an episode, and there's a big difference between a peaceful man and a harmless man. But there's also this term out there called the gentleman, right? The gentleman. And I've talked a little bit about this too, but I don't know why anybody would want to be considered a gentle man. It is absolutely wienerfied that anybody would want that title. Okay, you should not want to be a gentle man. You should want to be a man that will stand up and fucking fight if the time comes for it. Now, if you're choosing to be gentle, and all other times that might be different. But here again, this is the difference between a peaceful man and a harmless man. A peaceful man chooses to be peaceful, right? A peaceful man has to make a conscious decision not to use extreme violence, right? Whereas a harmless man, that's the guy who's always silent, sitting back in the corner, sitting on a fucking subway while somebody is being raped. Okay, that's a harmless man. That's a bitch. That's a pussy. And I stand by that statement. So the next step is pretty simple. It's pretty cut and dry. Fucking, right? So we got fighting and fucking. Fucking is one of the things that real men do. And I've talked about this in a whole episode, right? Where real men don't use excuses. They don't ask permission. They fuck. They have wives. Sometimes some of us even have multiple wives, multiple girlfriends, side chicks, goomas, whatever the fuck it takes. As long as you're not lying about it and as long as you're being upfront about it with the people that you love, real men fuck. There are so many scientific studies that support the importance of sex. right? It obviously men who have more sex are healthier, right? We have lower risk for things like prostate cancers, things like that. It obviously has a psychological effect, right? It obviously helps our moods. And it does for women too. Most people, I think I talked about this in one of my episodes, where male sperm, right, semen, actually increases women's moods, right? It gives them, it helps with depression. It helps their libido. You need to be pumping your women full of your daddy juice as often as humanly possible. And that's straight up. Nobody ever wants to talk about this crap because America has become so over-sexualized. Again, we've become so emasculated that we can't even talk about a natural process of what men are biologically designed to do. And that's pretty sad that we've become this much of a PC society that we can't even talk about things that are literally healthy for us, instead of just sitting back and letting everybody shame us into thinking that we're doing something wrong. Fucking stop. Start being men again and start fucking. It's that simple. Man, I've gotten a whole bunch of comments on this too. People on my Facebook and everything. And again, I don't get onto Facebook often, but when I do, it always cracks me up. I've got all kinds of, people on there that talking about how, I'm just a degenerate, and I'm a pervert and all this stuff. And it's like, man, get the fuck out of here. You're the dude dying from fucking prostate cancer at 45 because you're refusing to do something as simple as going out there and fucking. Fucking stop, man. Just stop. What's the third F here? The third F. Okay, so the third F to me is the most important one almost. It's financial freedom. Here again, this goes back to the difference between what real men do and what real men don't do. And real men understand the importance of financial freedom. That is being self-employed. You cannot reach financial freedom if you are working for somebody else. When you are working for somebody else, you are allowing that person to determine your worth. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. This is black and white. If you are working for somebody else, you are allowing that person or that business to determine your worth. It doesn't matter if you have a fucking doctorate degree in finance. When you work for somebody else, you are preventing yourself from accomplishing everything that you could accomplish. You're literally putting a cap on your abilities because you're allowing somebody else to determine what they're going to pay you, what your retirement's going to be, the whole 9 yards. And so financial freedom, when we talk about financial freedom, there is no other freedom that's as important as financial freedom. Without financial freedom, no other freedom matters. Okay, when we talk about fighting, right, the first F, we talk about fighting for our freedoms. And here's the thing. If the government is going to be able to tell you how you can make your money, then you don't have financial freedom. If another company that you're working for is going to tell you how much you're worth and how much they are going to pay you, then you do not have financial freedom. Financial freedom is the ability to make as much money as you want to make. It's called capitalism for those of you who don't know. Right? Financial freedom is the driving force behind the American dream. This is why America is the best country in the world, because it is still to this day the only country where you can come in here with nothing and you can become a millionaire if you have the right intelligence, the right drive, the right motivation, and the right discipline. Okay, financial freedom, it requires a whole bunch of intelligence. You have to be smart enough to be able to understand that if you're working for somebody else, you are just first of all, you're helping them accomplish their dreams. You're not helping yourself accomplish yours. You are allowing them to determine your worth. So you do not have financial freedom, which to me is one of the most important F's. Real men are self-employed. Real men are self-reliant. And I know that this pisses a whole bunch of people off. I've done episodes about some of my cop friends and, other guys that, do this and do that. And they always get pissed off at me about, I do this and I'm going to retire. It's like, man, you're going to retire off of somebody else's dime. You're not going to have the freedom to choose where you want to travel and where you want to live and what kind of boats you want to drive or anything like that. You might have saved up enough money to do some minimal things, but you're not going to have enough money to do everything. One of the things that I talk to people about, and listen, I'm not a financial advisor by any means necessary. I'm not a financial advisor. But in today's age, in 2001, I was talking to a financial advisor here in Atlanta not too long ago. And I was informed that in 2001, if you want to retire at the age of 62, that you're supposed to have $3 million saved, because they're estimating that a person is going to live to be about 92. Now, I know that that's not the average lifespan in America right now, but really, when you think about it, almost everybody that I know is living up into their late 80s and early 90s. And so that's $10 million, that is $1 million for every 10 years of your life that you're supposed. That's if you want to live on a $72,000 a year income. That's a pretty modest income. That's not extravagant by any means. I mean, nowadays, hell, that's damn near, I wouldn't say it's poverty, but it's definitely not living large. So that's $1 million a year, $1 million for every 10 years of life that you want to live after retirement. Guess what? You're not going to get that with your 401ks, and you're not going to get that with Social Security and all this other crap that you think you're going to retire with. Your fucking county pension, you're not going to have $1 million for every 3 years or for every 10 years of life after the age of 62. So I try to explain to people one of the key elements to being a real man is financial freedom. You cannot be a real man living off of a $1,500 a month pension. Okay, you can't do it. You can't do the things that you want. You can't do the damn go travel. You can't do anything. You can't take care of your family. Basically, you're going to be subjected to a life of shit. Okay, living on some fucking, living in an RV or something because you weren't smart enough to be a real man and to save money for retirement. Real men have financial freedom. It's that simple. There's such a small percentage of business owners. There's only 1% of the world's population is millionaires. Only 1%. Right now, I think it's like 1.2% or something like that. It's around 56 million people worldwide are millionaires in 2021. Now, that's doubled from 10 years ago. Right? 10 years ago, it was only about, less than 0.5%. So my point is that as technology advances and as societies progress, we have more opportunity to make more and more money. And real men take that opportunity and they do that. They make more money. They are self-reliant. They're self-sufficient. We're getting ready to come into times here where the amount of money that we have is really not going to matter so much as well as our ability to survive and our ability to be self-reliant. But this is where I say smart people will put their money into assets, right? They'll put their money into real estate, land, gold, silver, that kind of thing. It's almost crazy in my mind to even keep money in the bank, but that's a completely different topic for a different day, especially now that the IRS is going to start, monitoring anybody who has over $600 in their bank account. Things are going to get really fucked up then. But I digress. Let's move on to the fourth F, which is family. Okay, now this kind of goes hand in hand with fighting, fucking, and financial freedom. Real men have families. They have kids. They have wives. They have that team. They have that bloodline where they can continue their legacy. And unless there's a medical reason why you can't have kids, there's still adoption. There's still foster care. There's still all kinds of things that real men do in order to carry on their legacy, right? Our job on this planet is to reproduce. That is what we are biologically designed to do. And real men do that. And when they do that, they take responsibility for it, right? This all goes back to financial freedom. The more money you have, the more kids you can have. And so, it's kind of like building up your own little army. These are things that real men are supposed to do. It's not, I don't care what the times say we're supposed to do. Everybody's waiting until they're 50 years old to have kids and shit now. And that's absolutely pathetic, man. real men, they have offspring. They build their empires, and then they push that success onto the generations that follow them. This is what made entire empires, right? Kings had their kids, and it's not rocket science to understand how important it is for a real man to have offspring. You have to have a family. You have to have a wife that you support and love, that you trust, that you're vulnerable with. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a prenup, but real men have families, and that's the fourth F. And then the fifth F is kind of the last one, and this is really kind of different for everybody. But the fifth F of being a real man is faith. I've said this before. The atheist is a coward, right? The atheist is somebody who has no accountability. So therefore, there's no reason for them to have purpose because they have nothing that they can be held accountable for. Sure, the atheist is going to want to enjoy his time now. So there may be some of them that are very successful, but at the end of the day, they have no accountability. So they don't have that purpose that drives the rest of us. And this is where I say faith. To me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu. To me, it makes no difference. In fact, I'll say it like this. To me, I was talking about Facebook earlier, and to me, I've kind of come to realize that religion is a lot like, well, it's a lot like these social media sites, right? Like Christianity could be considered Facebook, and Islam could be considered Twitter, and Buddhism could be considered, Instagram, right? I mean, it's all different messengers, but the end result has the same effect, right? It has the same. Every religion out there has the same standards, the same moral codes, the same type of belief in power type of doctrine. And so really every religion is just a social media platform, right? Like I said, it's a different messenger, but it's all the same end result. They may have a little bit different system, but it's all the same in the end as far as the end result. And it's very important to have some sort of faith and to have some sort of spiritual conviction to carry you through life, because that is what holds us accountable. Again, the atheist cannot be held accountable because the atheist just doesn't have they have no fear about any consequences that they ever do. And that limits us as men. That really, really limits us. And I talk to religious leaders all the time about this stuff, and I talk to pastors and all kinds of stuff. And to me, religion is absolutely crazy. I'll be the first to admit that I do not belong to any organized religion. I consider myself to be a Christian, but I would definitely be much more on the Coptic Christian end. I have studied all religions, and I appreciate something about all of them. I mean, to me, they all have the same, like I said, they all have the same structure, and that to me is what's important. I don't think it really matters what religion a person belongs to, as long as they belong to something and they use that as an accountability to do good works in this life, right? They hold themselves accountable because they believe that somebody else is going to hold them accountable in the afterlife. And I highly agree with that. I think that is a very important thing for real men to do. This kind of, I was watching, like all these groups that I mentioned earlier, like Man on Fire and Rise Up Kings and all this stuff. So all these groups are about trying to make men into better fathers and better husbands and better businessmen. And I really think that if somebody follows these 5 F's, and this is free information, man, I'm not charging you for this shit. In fact, I'd be willing to talk to anybody about this and mentor you and coach you in how to doing it better. But I mean, here's the thing. It really is this simple. It really is this easy. I saw one group on Facebook that they were taking guys and they were taking them up somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, I think, where I'm originally from. And they were doing like this 2-week hunting course and all this kind of stuff. And man, I'll tell you what, that's a great thing. That's a great thing. Men should know how to hunt. This goes back to the first F, right? Fighting. Men should know how to be self-sustaining. If the end of the world comes along and there's just a few people left out there, they're going to have to know how to survive. You know, I highly encourage people to get out there and learn those type of skills and, you know, hunting tactics and you know, even some military tactics, you know, maybe some guerrilla warfare, small unit tactics or something like that, small unit maneuvering. But at the end of the day, if you don't have those 5 F's already ingrained into your mind, then nothing else is going to matter anyway. You could be that survivor out there and some other alpha male is going to come and he's going to kill you and then he's going to take your family. That's what I'm going to do. I mean, I can tell all of you straight up that if we ever come to an end of days scenario or Armageddon type of thing where it's a bunch of people all running around in, you know, complete chaos and anarchy, I'm not going to be the guy saving you. I'm going to be the guy hunting you, because I'm going to guarantee that my family is going to stay alive. And I'm sure there's people out there that are far more badass than me, but at the end of the day, the bullet's going to tell the story, right? So think about that. Think about that. You have to be willing to do what nobody else is going to be willing to do. And this goes along with everything that we do in our everyday lives too. You have to be the guy that's out there going to take it. You don't want to be the guy that's out there waiting for it to be given to you, because there's going to be somebody else out there that's going to take it, and they're going to take yours, and then you're not going to have anything. And, you know, when we talk about relationships, right, when we talk about family, I'll tell you, there was a, man, who was it? Let me see if I can, there was a article that I read. There's a psychologist out there that she talks a lot about this kind of stuff. Hold on, let me try to find. Okay, so the best article that I have ever read is called Masculine Containment. And the psychologist's name is Teal Swan. And so I found this at tealswan.com. I don't know this girl, but I'll tell you, she makes an awful lot of good sense. You know, I would love to meet her someday. Man, she's pretty too. But anyway, she talks about masculine containment. And I've actually been talking a long time about this too. I just really never used that exact word. But if you want to be a better husband, and if you want to be a better father, and if you want to be a real man, then you will learn how to contain your spouse and your kids. And what that basically means is that you will learn how to protect them. You will learn how to build them up as people. You will learn how to give them the support and the freedom that they need to thrive. You know, when I look at containment, I actually look a lot of it as, you know, being like back in my Army days, like being that squad leader or being that platoon sergeant or something, or being that platoon leader in my case. And I look at it really as almost going to war with your soldiers, right? You need to be able to contain them. They are your team. So you know, the military definition of leadership is the process of influencing others to accomplish a mission by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. And to me, that is the exact thing of what the word masculine containment represents, right? It represents us loving the platoon so much that we contain them, we teach them, we are there. If one of them gets hurt, it hurts us, literally, it hurts us. And that's what a person has to do when they are containing their wife or their children. They have to protect them. They have to teach them. They have to give them the motivation to want to succeed. And this is one of the key elements of being a real man. If you don't know the process of how to contain somebody, or if you've never had that experience of, you know, being a team leader or something like that, then you need to learn this process, because this is what real men do. This is why real men have families. First of all, because their families want to be there. Their wives don't want to bail on them, and their kids don't hate them growing up and kind of, you know, again, I mean, it's all part of a mentality. It's all part of a masculine alpha leadership mentality that every man out there used to have. Well, not every man, but a good majority of men. And this kind of brings me to my point. You know, if you all want to be out there being a bunch of betas, that's fine. That's fine, man. I don't have anything against you. Just don't pretend like you're even remotely close to being the leader of the pack if you're not. And that's all I'm saying. I mean, recognize yourself, look in the mirror, recognize who you actually are, and then determine your self-worth based on who you think you are. If you're a beta, then go ahead and keep working for somebody else. If you're a beta, then don't worry about having kids. Let real men have kids. And if you're a beta, then just go ahead and don't fuck any of the women. Leave that to guys like me. I mean, you know, I don't know what else I can say about this. Here's what I can say. You don't need to spend $30,000 for a man on fire seminar to learn, you know, to do a little 3-day Navy SEAL buds training course. You don't need to do that because I'm telling you how to be a real man right here for free. I would love to talk to somebody who disagrees with me about this. I sure would love to talk to somebody about it. And I got some more guests coming up here, so please stay tuned to more of my episodes. This was a good one. I mean, this is me just kind of going on a rant real quick, but you know, check out this information that I put out there. Again, I'm not sponsored by this person, and I have no idea who she is, but tealswan.com. This girl has got some good stuff. So let me know what y'all think. And till next time, take care.